Let me start by saying a very big thank you for granting us this interview. Um, I observed that lately, from many of the interviews you've conducted, and even in your writings, you seem to be unhappy with the state of the nation. And I'm wondering, what are the issues? What are your observations on what's going wrong or going right about the Nigerian state?
Well, there's nothing new about being uncomfortable with the state of things in Nigeria. I like to say I've been in opposition since 1982. A lot of people don't know the history of Nigeria or my trajectory. And every time we think we are getting closer to our promised land, we realize that we are moving even further away from it. Uh, I was not a supporter of President Tinubu when he contested the election because I'm a member of opposition, a member of PDP, and I'm not the type that can easily jump from one party to another. There must be a very cogent reason for me to move. I remember the current First Lady, Mrs. Tinubu, who I have known for a long time, uh, asking me at the Archbishop Viney Memorial Church one day during the funeral of Mrs. Kemi Nelson that, Bobby, do you mean you are not going to campaign for my husband? And I said, no, I'm a man of principle. It's nothing personal. Uh, I grew up liking Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu from around 1992, 1993, when we were all supporting Chief MKO Abiola. But as a matter of principle, I don't know how politicians do it, maybe because I'm not a career politician, I'm a part-time politician. I don't know how they do it, that they can jump this morning into APC and by evening they've jumped out and they're already in PDP and tomorrow they are back at APC. Yeah, it's so convenient for Nigerian politicians. And I think it's something, we must find a solution to it. In the other country where I live, which is Ghana, it's almost impossible for a politician to move from one party to another so effortlessly. So I believe it's a major problem for our country and something has to be done about it, maybe constitutionally. I am unhappy because, one, from day one, May 29th, 2023, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu became president. And that very day, he chose to remove the subsidy on petroleum products totally, absolutely, without considering the inherent danger of doing so. It's like taking a patient to a doctor. The patient complained of headache or catarrh or whatever, and the doctor, in his wisdom or stupidity, decided to apply an injection to the patient. And as soon as he applied the injection, the patient entered coma. And since then, for 2 years, the patient has been in ICU. So it must be something regrettable. It must be something that that worries the doctor, not the doctor saying, no, don't worry, it's a matter of time. The patient will wake up. After 2 years, if the patient is yet to wake up, then something is wrong. There is a saying in Yoruba, that if the gods cannot make our lives better, they should at least leave us the way they met us. So I expected the government of President Chinubu to have at least stabilized the patient. When you come in, the first thing you need to do when they bring you a patient is that, oh, this patient has high blood pressure. Oh, he has very high fever. Oh, his temperature is too high and everything. The first thing the doctor will do is to calm the patient down, make sure that they can bring the blood pressure under control, they can bring the temperature under control, they can, not that you now make it worse. So this was the genesis of my disagreement with the government. I was hoping that President Tinubu, since people said he was a genius, about the way he ran Lagos and everything. So I expected the same level of ingenuity at the national level. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And then there are other things I'm not comfortable with, especially dictatorship. We fought dictatorship. He was my teacher and I'm his disciple. And I believe I learned a lot from him while we were in exile. I was in his house almost on a daily basis. I could enter his kitchen and eat anything I wanted. And so I would have thought, if nothing else, if he cannot handle the economy, at least in matters of democracy, even if he's going to lose election because of that next time, at least it should be on record that it deepened our democracy. And I will continue to hammer on it that, sir, you can lose everything. Don't lose your democratic credentials because that's what made you who you are. But I don't know if it is him or it's some people around him that are cajoling him into believing that he's invincible, that he's now a god and nobody can challenge him. Those of us who knew him very well and we believe we know him relatively well will continue to advise him like we've advised other presidents before him and beg him that it should not kill our democracy. Because the danger ahead is that everybody now sees him as someone who is no longer interested in democracy. He just wants to be an emperor. And I'm saying this with all due respect. And so I pray that something will convince him that that is not the route to go.
What are the things, noticeable things you've observed that makes you feel that he's moving away from democratic principles?
Rivers is number one. What happened in Rivers State? Rivers State, there was no crisis, nothing. Everything was peaceful. And everybody knew that Governor Fubara was being oppressed recklessly and unrepentantly by Yeson Wiki. Everybody knew it, that it was all about the resources and not even, people say, oh, it's because they want to win election. No, how many votes will they get eventually? It's not about votes. It's about controlling the resources of rivers. Anybody who knows the history of electioneering funding in Nigeria, we know that the bulk of the resources used to come from the direction of rivers. When Yaradua was campaigning, it was Governor Odili who was funding. Then Yaradua died and President Jonathan took over. So of course, Jonathan already being in power could raise a lot of resources. But then by the time Buhari was coming, Governor Chibuke Rotimi Amechi was the one that was busy funding. Then after that, we have Chinubu. Wike also released a lot of resources, apparently. That is why they gave him a very juicy ministerial appointment. That is why they allow him to run riot and go on rampage in rivers, and his word is law, and he's even standing now like a demigod, even boasting that there is no Tinubu without him and all that. So, but life must not begin and end with power. God has delivered to Asiwaju what Babawolowo could not get, what Chifabiola could not get, what the Owele Furniture, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was chasing, what Chief Olufalaye, one of our greatest bankers and economists, could not get. God gave it to you. So hold on to God. If God says you will get second term, you don't need to fight anybody. You don't need to oppress anybody. You don't need to harass anybody with EFCC or ICPC or whoever. You don't need to even lift a finger. God will just pursue good governance. Once you have good governance, you can be sure that everything else shall be added onto it. But fortunately, I can see panic already. They know that they are not doing well. They know that if elections were held today, it is not likely for them to win it. And that is why they want to grab some states in advance. They are picking the states they want to grab. That's why if we have that, imagine in Kano now, you have two emirs of Kano. It's unprecedented. Those are the things I was telling you. I just mentioned rivers. If you look at it, about a month ago, they tried to penetrate and grab Osun State, cause crisis in Osun. And then Everybody knows Adeleke is probably the most popular governor in Nigeria today. People love him with minimum resources. The man is doing a great job. And yet, you want to go and destabilize that state. That is the state, the ancestral root of our president. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is originally from Iragbiji. Everybody knows. So they feel uncomfortable that Osun State is not under their control, but they don't need to fight in Osun. What they need is to persuade the people of Osun. If you are from Osun, then start pumping things, do the road from Ibadan, do express road all the way to Osun, and name it Chinubu Boulevard or whatever you like. Go and make sure that their electricity is working very well. Part of the national grid is there in Osogbo, in Osun State. Go to Ile-Ife, our ancestral roots as Yoruba people. Turn it into a Dubai under your watch. It's not enough just picking a few of your cronies and making them ministers and giving them fat portfolios. No, do the things that will benefit your own people and see if they will not support you. So all this that they are decamping in Delta, I'll be shocked if he believes that they love him. No, it's all a game. It's a game for politicians that, okay, if you can't beat them, join them.
I'm also worried that even the PDP, which is the opposition party, they don't seem to be strategic in tackling him, or at least taking him on. Let me put it that way. You see some of the governors saying things contrary to what the parties, even some of the serving governors are already talking about the president and all of that. And I'm wondering, how come the PDP can't galvanize itself and then come up with a formidable either strategy or a way of dealing with the situation on ground?
You see, it is easier said than done. Every day, everywhere I go, people, but you people, you are, lily livered, you are squeamish. How come you cannot expel Wiki? How come you cannot expel all those who are working against your party? It's not as simple as that. PDP is a law-abiding party. Of course, in a situation where you have so many moles, you have faith columnists among you. There is little you can do. And then you have the most powerful president on earth. The Nigerian president is probably more powerful than even Donald Trump.
Why?
Simply because Donald Trump has institutions that can challenge him, but in Nigeria, nobody challenges the president of Nigeria. Everybody says yes, yes, yes. The judiciary, the legislature, everybody is in control of everybody. So, and since the president is afraid of anyone challenging his authority, so he is backing those fifth columnists in the different parties, not just in PDP. They are there in NNPP, they are there in Labour Party, they are everywhere. They are even there in the SDP that people say they are running to now. They are everywhere running riot. So with the backing of federal might, it's difficult for anybody to do anything. So it's not the fault of PDP. We are trying everything possible just to make sure that we maintain peace, law and order in our country. Because if everything collapses, democracy will suffer. If our biggest fear today is that at the rate we are going, they are going to drive people to desperation. And when there is desperation, law and order will break up, and then there will be trouble.
How do you see the talk about coalition and all the stories going around? Some PDP governors say they're not interested in it and all of that. I mean, do you think it's the way to go, or do you think it's?
Oh, of course, coalition will happen, whether Tinubu likes it or not. The coalition will happen. I don't know how much muscle we'll be able to pull, but that's the whole idea. That look, we have realized that no individual at this moment can take on the APC behemoth. Nobody can take on Asiwaju. Everybody knows that Asiwaju is not it's not going to be an easy meet. So we are ready. We're ready, and in the coming months there will be interesting developments. So get your coffee and your popcorn ready to watch the Game of Thrones in Nigeria. What else can I say? My analysis
Yeah.
is that no Southerner, except maybe former President Goodluck Jonathan, will be able to take on Tinubu. The only other person who could have done so is already in his pocket, and they are watching him very closely because they know he still has his rambunctious ambition, and that's the years of Wike. He's the only one who has the required funding and all that, and he's very brave. You must give it to him. So what I'm saying is going to be a game of the ethnic nationalities. Uh, the North is likely to unite against Tinubu. Initially, they will try to buy as many people they can buy in the North. That is already ongoing. But I believe Northerners can see clearly that Tinubu is not for them. And they are complaining and lamenting publicly. They can see that it's not for them. So if they are able to get a candidate, and I'm predicting that the only one that Tinubu would fear a bit is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, because of his extensive networks and experience and exposure. So if we are able to get an Atiku Abubakar plus maybe a Peter Obi, and then all the other parties rally around, they will give him a run for his money.
But what we see, all the personalities you mentioned don't seem to be working together. An article says he's not leaving PDP. Peter B, we don't know. I mean, whether he's going to stay in. And like you said, if they don't come together as a team, it will just be like a walkover for them.
Well, let me give you a very popular cliche, and that cliche is necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity is going to force them together. And if that doesn't happen, then we might as well say goodbye to opposition politics in Nigeria. But I'm sure that they will have to make that sacrifice. And part of the suggestions is that they should be able to agree on a one-time run for whoever is in front. So if they pick Atiku, so they will sign an agreement that after one term, then you can support the next person. They have to make extraordinary sacrifice. Sacrifice is never pleasant, it's never comfortable. So they will need to make that necessary sacrifice. Once they do that, trust me, Nigerians will come out fully. It will be difficult for the Tinubu government or APC apparatchiks to force themselves on us again.
But how do you react to this view that I mean, why Atiku? What does Alhaji Atiku want?
That's why I told you already, necessity is the mother of invention. He's the only one who has consistently built his platform unrelentingly since 1993 when he stepped down for Chief Moshood Abiola in Jos. He has never stopped, and that's what benefited Major General Muhammadu Buhari in 2015. He had already given up after the 2011 election that he wasn't going to run again. But people realized that the only person in the north who had that cult followership was Buhari. So Buhari was brought in not because they believe, oh, he was the best or he was going to be fine, but it's like he said, okay, let's chase the hyena away before we come back to the chicken. So we are under the same situation right now, whereby the decision of the Nigerian people is that, hey, if you don't get rid of this APC will get rid of all of us. So we're at that crossroads again. And I believe the only person, you can see that there is a campaign of calumny against Atiku. Every day they are attacking him, abusing. They are not afraid of Peter Obi, they are not afraid of Kwankwaso, but it's obvious that they know that with the consistency of Atiku and his full capacity and capabilities, it might spring a surprise on them. It might be a man of destiny. I believe so much in destiny. I'm a child of destiny. And I'm seeing Atiku as a man of destiny that this may be his best chance ever. I don't know. But APC definitely, they don't want to confront him.
But okay, going by tradition, that um, usually a president that comes in would spend 8 years, understandably, and that Tinubu has always, I mean, it's not even 4 years yet, but that
Jonathan did not spend 8 years. Jonathan had the opportunity to even spend longer, 9 years, because he completed 1 year of the Yaradua government. But he didn't have the chance. It's not automatic. It's about performance. And it's also not, people say, oh, it's the turn of the South. There's nothing so called. Your only qualification cannot be where you come from. So when people say Tinubu, Tinubu, it's about performance. If he performs, I don't care. Even if they say they want to give him third term, I know Nigerians, they will beg him. Let him stay on. No, the man is so good. We are all very well fed. There is electricity, there is water, good roads, food security and all that. But we can't see any of those.
let's talk about the SDP PDP working agreement or coalition, as we said. Do you think it would work out?
Well, I don't think it's SDP PDP.
Okay.
It's a mass movement. The coalition is a mass movement of people. Do you know that the largest party in Nigeria is neither PDP nor APC? It's the floaters, the ordinary people on the street. An average Nigerian does not belong to any party. You understand? They don't belong to any party. So they are only interested in, hey, who can bring about that change? So we're watching and we're hoping that something big will happen this time.
How do you also see the a lot of people that who are moving from either PDP or from one party to APC? And are you surprised? And if you're surprised, what you're reading on?
No, I can't be surprised because I know my country very well. I remember Sheon Okibaloye asking me on his program a few days ago that what do I think about Governor Okowa moving to APC? Even if it was unexpected, it was not surprising because I know he's been under tremendous pressure in recent times. They arrested him, and if you know him, fine, professional, gentleman. If he's not careful, they are going to rubbish his name and reputation. He's such a neat man. If you know him, he's not your typical politician. Very brilliant, very straightforward man. But in Nigeria, they would have rubbished your name first before you are cleared to be innocent. So who is going to now clean up your reputation that they've already damaged? That's the danger in sending people to EFCC and all these places where they will say, oh, we found that he stole 150 billion. And then tomorrow you don't hear anything again. We know of so many people who are in government today whose case files as mighty as this, and yet they are in the same government and we're not hearing anything about them again. So it's a rat race that nobody wants to experience. It's such an unfortunate situation whereby the government already has all kinds of landmines erected. So if you escape this, you're not likely to escape that. And that's why a lot of them are afraid. So those who are moving, some are moving because they want appointment, some are moving because they want money, some are moving because they want their own power, some are moving because they don't want to be arrested and detained. So there are different reasons why people are doing what they are doing, but it is not out of love for Tinubu, I'm sure about that.
And what is the PDP doing to make sure that it's still very strong and intact? Because there are views that some of the governors, probably who need second term and all of that, would probably work for the government. Of course, those who are leaving, because they also, like you said, they also want to live in a very peaceful way and manner and all of that. Wouldn't that weaken the PDP to the extent that it might be difficult to even work with any other opposition group?
Is it for those of us who understand Nigeria very well, and for those of us who know the history of our country, we're not worried. In 2023, we had a group called G5. That's a group of 5 governors led by Nyesom Wike. 3 out of them contested for their senatorial districts in Abia, in Benue, and in Enugu. One contested as governor in Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, and then Nyesom Wike became minister. All the 3 who contested senatorial elections lost. So if an incumbent governor could not win his own seat, senatorial, which is the third of his state, so why is Tinubu now thinking they can perform miracles? You see, what Tinubu is doing is good. At the very best, it's like a photo op where he say, hey, everybody is now in APC. So trying to prepare the ground so that if they win those states, they will say, oh, where were you when people were decamping in droves? But the truth of the matter is that yes, when they decamp, it looks so beautiful on paper, on television, and to the ears. But the truth is, do they have the capacity to deliver the votes? And if they have the capacity to deliver the vote, do we have the capacity to protect the vote? Because in Nigeria, it's not enough for you to say, oh, I was voted for. Where rigging begins is how you are able to defend those votes. So I believe the coalition have enough people with experience and exposure who know what to do on the day of election.
When people talk about the North losing out on that Chinubu, or that they're not happy with Tinubu, would that be correct?
Oh, definitely. There is no question about it. And the sad part of it is that Tinubu, people think is favorable more to the southwest and other parts of the south. But that's not the reality. The reality is that it's favorable to his cronies. We all know the Chinubu boys. The economy, the entire economy of Nigeria today is controlled by his boys. Not yes, they might come from Yoruba tribe, but they are not. I'm not seeing them as Yoruba. I'm seeing them more as the Tinubu tribe. So, and that's what it is. So even the Yorubas are agonizing under Tinubu. They are complaining. They are lamenting under Tinubu because what they are saying is that the man is just putting his guys in different powerful positions so that he can hold on tenaciously, and endlessly to power.
Let's talk about your forthcoming birthday. How do you feel? In the next few weeks, you're going to be celebrating your birthday.
God Almighty, 65 is not an easy age to attain. I remember that my godfather, Chief Moshood Abiola, died before he was 61. So if I'm approaching 65, I must appreciate what God has done in my life. I like to boast that God has been so kind to me in so many ways.
How do you mean?
Oh, so many ways. I'm a man of contentment, a man of modest income, but who is able to live humbly and live in peace. There is nothing you are looking for other than peace. Good health. I've never slept in any hospital for 24 hours in the last 65 years. That's a miracle of God. I know people who are much younger than me. If you see them, you think they are my fathers and grandfathers. So I'm happy that God has done that for me. The greatest wealth is good health. Once God has given you that, you are very okay. So 65 means a lot to me. It means that slowly but steadily, I've also become an elder statesman. Once upon a time, if you attained 65, you were considered a statesman and you were expected to have retired. So what have I done? I've been preparing for that magical number of 65 when you know that whatever you have been doing all your life, you need to reassess them, and then you need to start a new lease of life in preparation to the journey for the journey to your maker. A lot of people in Nigeria labor, and I think they labor in vain because at 80 they are still chasing all sorts. For me at 65, I set my goals. One of the goals, and I believe God has fulfilled it for me, was to go back to my roots in Ife. My sister, my elder sisters, I have two of them in Ife, living in Ife, and I have my brother, Professor Oladele Bolarinwa Ajayi, popularly known as Professor Ezekiel Ajayi. Uh, so they are all in Ife. And my father died in 1973. I was 13 years old, in Form 2 going to Form 3. I went through a lot. And at a stage, I lived with my sister, Feishara, uh, who now is a bit advanced in age. So I decided and I promised that I was going to do something so that she can at least have a beautiful life in her lifetime. Not that when people die, you start celebrating and dancing all over the places. So in our family, we're a family of scholars. We're not rich in any way. We manage our lives. So I succeeded in building her a modest house, which I plan to present to her by weekend, by the grace of God. Uh, so we're buying things right now, looking for money, and my friends have been quite supportive. So that is settled. Then in my father's village of Ieve, in Norwan East local government of Edo State, my father died 52 years ago. Uh, and it didn't take us home. It was after his death that I had to go back to discover my roots. A lot of people used to attack me, abuse me. I never bothered about them because I knew the circumstances under which I had to live in Ife. So it wasn't by choice because in those days, parents were afraid that witches and wizards would kill their children if they take them home. But I went home and my people received me very warmly, positively. They gave me plots of land. So now I've succeeded in building a house in the village for the first time in 52 years. For me, I'm very emotional about it. Uh, a lot of people will be impressed when they see what I've managed to do. And I did it from Torokobo, like we say in Yoruba. The day I have 2 million, the day I have 3 million, we're doing it slowly but steadily, and it's ready now. I had to do a concrete road. I did the street road myself. I put solar street lights on the street, and so it's going to be a place that will inspire a lot of people in our village. I intend to interact more. People say, "Oh, is it for politics?" No, I'm winding down already. I'm not one of those people who want to. Yes, I will play politics part time, but it can't be my full time vocation. So that building is also going to be dedicated and open. It's called Jacob and Joseph Villa in our village. Yeah, I hear people already going there to take pictures. It's like the new Hollywood in our village, and I'm very excited about it. So uh, that's that. That will be done. Then in Oyo State used to be going to Ibadan for me was like going to London. It was the first place I saw Levity stores. I saw Kingsway in those days when I was about 9, 10 years old, and so I've also completed the Dele Momodu Leadership Center in Ibadan. I set all these targets and deadlines for myself, and that leadership center has a library. So I saw what someone like Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, for example, had done in Abeokuta, and I wanted to replicate it small scale. Not many people know the value of knowledge. Knowledge is power. And that's what has made Baba Obasanjo relevant today. Of all our leaders, he has invested heavily in knowledge. And they have invited him to deliver the Dele Momodu Leadership Center leadership lecture this year. Last year was delivered by Professor Bafunaji, and it was chaired by President John Dramani Mahama. So this year, Baba Obasanjo has agreed, and the topic is very topical: how to end hunger and poverty in Africa. A very, very good topic, I believe. I've registered the Dele Momodu Foundation, fully registered, duly registered, and I'm very excited about it. I have eminent Nigerians, on it, man, who are going to help me to manage it and point us in the right direction. So, I mean, at 65, what more can I ask for? I set out on my dreams, and God has enabled me, to realize those dreams. So, the Ibadan Center also will be opened in the coming weeks, and then the grand finale will be in Lagos at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, where Baba is expected to deliver the lecture. And then from there, we go for lunch and drinks at the Balmoral at the Federal Palace Hotel. So it's not going to be an Owambe party, people spraying money. It's going to be, a day of speeches, of tributes. Of course, there will be music, there will be cocktails and dinner.
Looking back, do you feel fulfilled?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing more I could have asked from God. I mean, my business is thriving despite the challenges the media is facing today because of social media. But I was very fortunate that when I contested the election in 2011, that was when I started doing Twitter, Instagram, and all of them. And when I lost the election, I quickly converted them to business. So Ovetion is very strong. I've been able to build a double brand. So when you mention Dele Momodu, then you remember Ovetion. When you mention Ovetion, you remember Dele Momodu. So it's a double brand for me. And so I combine them for my clients. So the clients know that I have quality followers as well who will see whatever. If I put in any birthday or funeral or housewarming or weddings, it goes viral instantly. So I thank God for giving me that wisdom, which is what you have done. And I must commend you because your resilience at being able to produce city people. I know how tough it must be, but you've never given up. And so we share those ideals, and I'm happy that we come from similar backgrounds from Ife, Concord newspapers, and so on. Thank you.
Then, lastly, can you tell us your view about the media, the future of the media? How do you see
the media is under serious attack at the moment because of how will I put it? The media is the easiest profession anybody can join. You don't have to be a journalist to be a journalist. You have to be a doctor to be a doctor. You have to be a pharmacist to be a pharmacist. But media is free for all. Anybody, once you have your telephone now, you are a journalist. Whether you are a blogger or whatever you are still regarded as a journalist. But what I like eventually is that we are able to differentiate or distinguish boys from men in the media. That's why you have remained consistent. That's why you have been constant, because you are a thoroughbred professional who is very passionate about what you do. It's the same attitude I have to the media. So the media may look frail and maybe it is dying, but it won't die because the best of us will survive.